Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Just Good Games. So, with the recent release of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening on Nintendo Switch, which I am playing at the moment, and there will be a review on it soon, so don't you worry, I thought it was the best time to release my Legend of Zelda Wind Waker video. So this video has been a long time coming and has gone through many different forms, but I believe making it like my Batman Arkham Asylum video is the best way to go. So with that being said, let's crack on and look at probably, maybe, my favourite Zelda game. So from here on out, it's spoiler alert, and I've had a really bad cold this week, so I apologise for that. So on to the details of this amazing game. The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker was released on GameCube on the 2nd of May in 2003 in the UK and re-released on the Wii U in 2013. This was the first Zelda to be released on the GameCube and was the first since Majora's Mask. Although the gameplay mechanics were pretty much the same as Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, the graphics were a massive departure for the series. Out was the realistic for a Nintendo 64 graphics, and in was the cel-shaded graphics, which caused a massive uproar in the gaming community. I was 10 at the time though, and I did not care about this, and history is showing that it was a massive win for Nintendo, and actually the graphics made it easier for it to be remade. I was so looking forward to this game. I had played both Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, but I had not finished them, and I didn't really appreciate them as I was too young and they were too hard for me. For me, this was pretty much my first Zelda game, so it's probably why I hold this game so dear to my heart. I have since completed both Ocarina and Mask, and obviously they're both fantastic games, but you never forget your first Zelda game. I have since played the re-release, and that's even better than the original. The tweaks that they have made, like getting the speed sail to make the sailing faster and changing the Triforce quest to make it shorter, has fixed probably the only two bad points about the original game. So why is this game so good? Well, first and foremost, it's a Zelda game. And as I said before, the gameplay mechanics were pretty much the same as Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That gameplay is fantastic. All the classic Zelda items are there. You've got the bow, the hookshot, the boomerang, bombs. There is also the new addition of the grappling hook and the Dooku leaf. Of course, the swordplay was also on point. As a general rule, most Zelda games live or die by their dungeons and bosses. There is one notable exception to this, and that's Breath of the Wild, as it's just good, and it doesn't really have dungeons, does it? Wind Waker has a fair few memorable dungeons. I remember the first time I turned up to Dragon Roost Island and that awesome music kicked in. I knew I was in for a treat here. That was the first proper dungeon, and although it was quite simple, the characters and the location just ooze character. The boss fight, again, simple but so clever in the way it used the grappling hook. Forest Haven and the Forbidden Forest again make great use of the main items from the dungeon. The Dooku leaf and the boomerang are used to navigate the dungeon and to take down the boss, and seeing the great Dooku tree was absolutely an amazing surprise and just adds another connection to the wider Zelda lore. There's the Tower of the Gods, which makes an amazing grand entrance after collecting all three orbs of the goddesses. This is definitely one of my favourite dungeons in the game, and the whole possession of the little statues, move them onto switches, makes for some very clever puzzles. This also provides you with your gateway to Hyrule and to the Master Sword. This was a massive moment and really shocked me when I was little playing this, as I did not see this coming. For two later dungeons, the Wind and Earth Temple are pretty much the best two dungeons in the game. The Earth Temple gets so much love. Its reflection puzzles with the mirror shield and the way you had to jump from platform to platform with medley is absolutely amazing. Those two temples were a really big step up from the first three, and it really shows. The puzzles were harder, the enemies were harder. It was awesome. To be honest, what I'm really trying to get at here is every dungeon was amazing, and every dungeon was unique and had its own mechanics to master around a specific item. I'm just going to put up a quick list of how I would rate the dungeons. Obviously, the Forsaken Fortress is bottom. It's not technically a dungeon, but they do include it on some Zelda websites, so I'm going to put it on there. The stealth section in that is just not as good, and I don't think I really got it when I was little. I just remember hating that part of the game. The boss battle's good, and you get the Skull Hammer from there, so it's not all bad. The Wind Waker itself is a worthy successor to the Ocarina of Time, and although the songs are not as memorable as, say, the songs in Ocarina of Time, it becomes a great gameplay mechanic, more so than the Ocarina. Being able to use songs to change the wind direction and to warp your boat to different locations is very handy. Also, obviously, in the Tower of Gods, you use the Wind Waker to possess the little statues. So the Wind Waker is actually, a better gameplay mechanic than the Ocarina was, which was just to sort of play songs to trigger events. Story-wise, this is probably one of the simpler Zelda games, but to be honest, Zelda games, the stories are quite simple anyway. That's what makes Zelda so good. And then you delve into the lore, and then you see how complicated it actually is. But as a 10-year-old, all the twists and turns were amazing, and although today, if I played it without knowing them, you could see them coming a mile off, it blew 10-year-old me's mind that Tetra was Zelda. Its connection to the wider Zelda universe are so cool as well. It's set many, many years after most Zelda games, and its two follow-up games, Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, they sort of have their own separate timeline branch in the Zelda timeline, in a world where the hero of time in Ocarina of Time has been sent back in time to live out his child life. There is no one to protect Hyrule from a resurrected Ganon, so the gods flood Hyrule and seal Ganon away, only for, obviously he returns all the time, only for him to return again many years later to try and raise Hyrule back to the surface. This is where your Link comes in and your quest to stop him starts. The flooding of the world also brings in one of Wind Waker's most unique elements, the sailing. The sailing is never really a chore, and there's tons of treasure to find, and you get a hook which goes down into the ocean, and that's really cool, and that obviously plays into the Triforce quest, which was the worst part of the main bit. But as I said, in the remake they have made that much shorter, which makes it a lot better. The sailing is just really cool. It feels so open, and there's so many little islands to find. It's absolutely awesome. Loads of little side quests to do with it. You find charts, and that finds other bits of treasure. It's really cool. And then finally, there is Ganondorf. Wind Waker has one of my favourite Ganondorfs. His plan is again simple, like Ganondorf's plans most of the time, but I love his design. I love you got the puppet boss Ganon fights before you take him on. And then there is the boss fight against him, which is probably, I would say, one of the best Ganondorf fights in the entire series, as it's pretty much a straight up sword fight, mono-y-mono, no real tricks, no transformations. It just makes it really intense, as he is technically better than you, and you just have to pick your spots. And then finally defeating him is such an achievement. This was the first Zelda game I completed, as I said, and defeating him just was awesome. To summarise, Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker is an absolutely fantastic game, and although it's probably not held in as high regard as Ocarina of Time, or is maybe not as cult classic-y as Majora's Mask, I think it is a fantastic addition to the Zelda universe. Does it do much different from Ocarina of Time or some of the other ones? No, but it's Zelda, and it's a tried and tested formula which works. And when it comes to Zelda, I feel like you just have your favourite ones. There's no real bad Zelda games. You just have one which connects with you, and you have that connection forever. And Wind Waker is the one which I've connected with the most. So that is why The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker is just a good game. So there you have it. That was my video on The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. What an absolutely awesome game. So what I have to say now is thank you for watching. Subscribe, like the video, comment down below, follow us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. And once again, you have been watching Just Good Games, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker special.